The anime is about a young boy named Ko, who receives a love letter. After opening it, he meets the girl. However, he rejects her proposal. Not intending to hurt her feelings, he explains that it's not like he doesn't find her beautiful, it's just he doesn't understand the whole love thing. The girl runs away crying. And the next day her friends start bullying Ko for rejecting her. They started abusing him and telling him how worthless he is. As this thing keeps on going, Ko's will to participate in his school just fades. He felt uncomfortable and decides to sneak out at night for the first time. In a world where the majority of people sleep at night, he was curious to explore how the city would look. The sky is lit up by the clusters of stars. Looking around, he sees empty roads and has a sudden feeling of freedom. On his way, he comes across a vending machine that sells adult juice. With no one to see him, he gathers his courage and tries to buy it. But suddenly Nasuna, a girl covered in a black robe, appears next to him. Ko freaks out and explains that it was a mistake, and that he never do it again. After it, he tries to escape. But Nasuna stops him and calms him down. She tells him that she is not a cop. Nasuna tells Ko to follow her if he feels tired and wants to relax. Ko finds it very suspicious but still follows her. After some time, they arrive at her home. On the elevator, she explains that her business is to help people who have trouble sleeping. After they get inside, she tells him to lie on the bed. Ko freaks out thinking she is going to do something indecent with him. However, Nasuna assures that it's not what he is thinking. So, Ko finally decides to lie down. After some time, strangely his body starts to feel very light, and he ends up falling asleep. Nasuna checks by asking if he is actually asleep. After numerous attempts, when Ko didn't respond, Nasuna concludes that he is asleep for good. Now, she is ready to show her true self. As she approaches him, Ko is only pretending to stay asleep. Nasuna opens her mouth and drives her fangs onto Ko's neck. After it, she drinks his blood and is delighted at how delicious it is. However, she starts to panic as Ko gets up. She tries to explain that there was a mosquito on his neck and she squished it. However, it's not very convincing. Nasuna gives up and reveals that she is a vampire. On knowing this, Ko starts to freak out in fear that he will turn into a vampire too. Nasuna assures him that he won't turn because the person has to fall in love with the vampire. Because if after every bite, humans would turn into her offsprings, it would create a lot of problems for them. Ko finds it more convincing. As the rumors go for vampires, Ko finds Nasuna a wholesome vampire and doesn't find the need to run away from her. To freshen up the mood, they go outside. There Nasuna asks how he felt on his first night out. Ko thinks for a moment and realizes how calming it was. With no one to order him around, he felt like he could do anything. He wants this feeling forever and requests Nasuna to turn him into a vampire. Nasuna starts blushing and reminds him that he would need to fall in love with her then. Even though Ko doesn't understand love things, to live a life of night, he is going to fall in love with her. Nasuna tells him that she doesn't care what he does, however, in return every day she needs his blood. Ko agrees and after it, Nasuna holds him and flies to show him the beauty of staying awake at night. The next day, Ko again sneaks out. He meets up with Nasuna and as per the deal offers his blood. However, Nasuna gets embarrassed and tells him to cover up his neck. Even though she is a vampire, she drinks when she felt like it. From there, they go to her home and then she drinks it. The next day, Ko bought 2 wristwatch transceivers because it was getting difficult to find Nasuna. Nasuna is amused to see it. For her, it's like a very high-tech gadget. She asks if Ko has used it before. Ko tells her that around 9 years old, he bought 2 transceivers. He kept one with him and the other above a mailbox. He waited for someone to pick and after a few days it was gone. He tried to send a message but couldn't and decided to wait for the other person to make the first move. Nasuna feels so sad on hearing the story that she laughs. Ko tells her to stop making fun of him and gives the transceiver. He tells Nasuna to go about 150 meters since it only has this range. After Nasuna leaves, he sends a message. And gladly it's working. They reunite, and then Nasuna takes Ko to his school. With no one around, this is the first time Ko feels this much relieved. And soon Nasuna drinks her dinner. On his way back, Ko tries sending a message using his old transceiver. Unexpectedly, the message sends, and a girl named Akira appears. She is Ko's friend and studies at his school. All this time she was the one carrying it. Ko is surprised and asks how did she get it. Akira is confused because she saw Ko leaving the transceiver above her mailbox. Thinking he wanted to play, she waited for him to make the first move. Akira and Ko used to play together when they were little. However, as their class progressed, they had to spend more time studying and eventually stopped talking. Akira, with a worried tone, asks if everything is okay. She noticed for several days he wasn't coming to the school. Ko explains and tells her what happened to him. And because of this, he started disliking the school. Akira didn't say anything else and asked if tomorrow they can meet again around this time. Ko agrees. But before leaving, he is surprised to see her in a school uniform at this time. Akira explains that she usually wakes up at 4 and prefers going to school this early. Even though it's very early, Ko isn't really in a position to say anything about it. The next day, as promised, they again meet up. But he is soon caught by Nasuna. Ko freaks out and doesn't know what to say. He is feeling like he cheated and felt guilty. However, Nasuna is not mad and starts teasing Ko for spending his time with another girl. Akira asks about their relationship. And in reply, Nasuna explains that her and Ko's relationship is only physically related. Nothing more. Ko panics and scolds her for the absurd way of putting it. Akira, like any normal human, misinterprets that they are dating. However, Nasuna gets embarrassed and tells her to not relate everything to love. She demonstrated what she meant earlier. Finally, Akira understands that Nasuna is a vampire. After Akira leaves for school, Ko and Nasuna have a walk. Ko notices that Nasuna seems angry. He asks if she didn't like him spending his time with Akira. Nasuna tells him that she is not mad and just takes off. Ko now is very sure that she is angry and follows her. He searches for her in the places they have met previously. However, he couldn't find her. As Ko is climbing up the stairs, he falls and hurt himself. The sun is about to rise, and for the last time, he again sends the message. Fortunately, this time the message is sent. As Nasuna picks up, Ko apologizes for seeing a friend in secret and explains he really wants to make up. Suddenly, Nasuna appears and assures him that she was not angry, just a bit irritated. She fears that because of Akira, Ko will stop spending time at night and will return to his school. Ko finally understands the situation and assures her that he isn't planning to return. Nasuna notices blood on Ko's lips and asks about it. Ko tells that he fell and got hurt. Nasuna takes a closer look. As she looks at the blood, she couldn't hold herself but kiss him. Afterward, she just leaves, leaving Ko in shock. The next day, Ko on his way spots a couple kissing. He starts blushing upon remembering his kiss with Nasuna yesterday. He then realizes people who love each other are the ones who kiss. He felt a sudden rush of confidence and believes he can be a vampire now. He meets up with Nasuna and offers his blood. Nasuna comes forward and drinks it. However, nothing happens. Ko is confused and doesn't know how this is possible. Nasuna explains that just because they kiss doesn't mean they are in love with each other. It's not how love works. Ko is devastated and thought he had it easy. The next day, on the way to meet Nasuna, he spots Akira. It's still midnight, and he finds it unusual for her to be awake at this time. Akira reveals that lately, she is having trouble sleeping and wanted to walk around. Ko invites her to Nasuna's place if she is okay with it. They arrive at her place and play some video games. After Ko, Nasuna asks Akira if she wants to play. And if she wins, Nasuna will kiss her. Akira creeps out and refuses the offer. She asks if it was the same condition for Ko as well. When Nasuna said yes, Akira is in shock and wonders what these two do every night. As a friend, Akira tells Ko that she is very supportive of his type of girl, but she cannot let him date a vampire. Nasuna corrects her that they are not dating. Ko just wants to become a vampire, and she wants his blood. as it's almost time for Nasuna to drink some blood. After drinking it, she tells both of them to sleep. However, Akira is against the idea and wants to leave for her school as soon as possible. Nasuna tells her that outside it's raining and she is not going to do anything indecent. Finally, Akira decides to lie down with the intention of leaving for school as soon as the rain stops. However, she ends up sleeping for 4 hours. Despite being late, it is the first time after so many years Akira had a decent sleep. The following day, after a devastated loss, Nasuna is fed up and decides to head to a nearby hot spring. After bathing for some time, she receives a message from Ko and meets up with him. For Ko, it's his first time watching Nasuna with her hair all loosened up. He is blushing and wonders if he has fallen in love with her. So he offers his blood. After bathing, Nasuna is really hungry, so without any delay, she starts drinking it. However, she ends up drinking so much that Ko starts to feel a bit dizzy. They found a nearby hotel and go there to rest for some time. However, it's not the kind of hotel they were thinking of. Ko, after gaining a bit of his strength, is still confused and wonders why he still isn't a vampire. Nasuna again tells him that he was only attracted to her looks. It is not love but a step before or two. After resting for some time, they head outside. As they pass by people, Nasuna starts telling Ko whose blood she has drunk. But Ko doesn't like listening because he feels a bit jealous. He wants her to drink only his blood. Nasuna notices it and starts teasing him for it. She assures him that ever since meeting him, she had only drunk his blood. Because it's so tasty that she just couldn't care less about someone else's. Suddenly a question pops up, and Ko asks how Nasuna is able to afford her living. Because either she is with him or spending her time playing games. Nasuna takes him to her home and explains that she has a business to help customers fall asleep who are exhausted because of working all day. And after offering them services, she charges them 3,000 to 4,000 yen depending on the duration, and also drinks their blood. She demonstrates, and as she was about to drink, the bell rings. Upon checking, Nasuna is worried to know it's her customer. She is worried because after massaging Ko, she is very tired and doesn't have the strength to attend to any customers. However, she also doesn't want to send away the customer because she has opted for the costliest massage. She requests Ko to serve the customer, and in return, she will give him 2,000 yen. Ko is just lost on hearing the amount. For a young boy like him, it's a lot of money. And on top of that, Nasuna promises to kiss him as an additional reward. Ko is tempted by the offer and agrees. However, it's not by the kiss, it's by money. Even at this point, Ko hasn't fallen in love with Nasuna and still sees her as a pretty vampire with whom he has a deal. Ko invites the lady in, and her name is Shirakawa. After changing the clothes, Ko begins massaging. At first, Shirakawa was suspicious of Ko, but as the session continues she is a bit relaxed. As they have a conversation, she is surprised to know it's Ko's first time doing it. Ko explains that his boss is busy today, so that's why he is doing the job instead of her. Shirakawa doesn't mind it at all because all her stress is now gone. After she leaves, Nasuna is impressed with Ko's work and takes him to a night party. However, with all grown-ups around, Ko feels a bit uncomfortable. He notices a few guys hitting on Nasuna. He gets jealous, but he is scared to confront the adults. On the other side, Nasuna notices Ko is not coming to help her. So, she tells the guys that she is with no one and she can spend her time with them if they can pay for the juice. On hearing this, Ko is a bit pissed. He grabs Nasuna's hand and takes her away. After they leave the place, Ko tells Nasuna that he wants to spend time at a night pool where there is no crowd. Nasuna has a wonderful idea. She grabs Ko and takes him to his school pool. There they spend the rest of the night. The next day, while searching for Nasuna, it starts raining and now Ko is stuck. While he is waiting for the rain to stop, he spots a girl named Sari turning down a man. And soon, the same girl approaches Ko and asks to hang out. Even though she is a beauty, Ko refuses. Sari grabs his soda can and starts walking away. Ko felt it rude and starts following her to bring the soda can back. After some time, they end up under a highway. Ko asks her to give his soda can back, however, she drank it all. In just a blink of an eye, she suddenly appears in front and hugs Ko. By the time Ko realizes what's happening, she opens her mouth and tries to drink his blood. But luckily, Nasuna arrives in a nick of time and stops her. As you have already guessed, Sari is also a vampire. And it seems Nasuna and Sari don't like each other. It's illegal for vampires to casually hang out with humans unless they are going to turn them or kill them. This is why Sari earlier tried to attack Ko. There is a group of vampires that have noticed Nasuna breaking the rules and have decided to take the matter into their hands. Regardless, Nasuna doesn't care about their rules. She fights Sari to protect Ko. However, another vampire named Kabura appears and takes Ko away to a rooftop building. There are 3 other vampires named Nico, Midori, and Hatsuka. Without wasting any time, Nico gets straight to the point. She tells Ko to pick any one of the vampires present here. And after it, that vampire will turn him into a vampire. And in case he refused to pick, they would have to kill him. Because it's their policy to make sure the vampire's identity is not threatened. Ko understands their worry and picks Nasuna. They all are in shock. It's almost like an insult to their beauty. Nico tells Ko that they all are more popular than Nasuna. It's not like Nasuna is not a beauty, it's just she is not good at romance stuff and doesn't want to create offspring. Nico made Ko sit next to her. She tells him to forget about Nasuna and to pick her up. However, the other vampires didn't like Nico sneaking up to make Ko her offspring, and they starts fighting over it. Despite all the chaos, Ko is firm in his decision to fall in love with Nasuna only. It was at this moment, Nasuna arrives. She heard what Ko said and starts feeling embarrassed. After calming down, she tells Ko to return. However, before they leave, Nico tells Ko to turn as soon as possible. Because if he didn't turn before 1 year, he will never become a vampire. Which in turn means they will have no other choice but to kill him. Ko starts to freak out and asks Nasuna why she didn't tell him about this earlier. Nasuna apologizes because she forgot about it. As the vampires start to party, Nasuna suddenly remembers the reward she promised Ko in return for doing the massage. She kisses him and afterward flies away, leaving everyone speechless. On his way home, Ko meets up with Akira and tells her about the time limit he has been given. Ko is in a panic and requests her help. Akira calms him down and tells him to just fall in love as fast as possible. The following day, Ko has an encounter with Sari. He starts to remember what happened earlier and freaks out. As he tries to run away, Sari grabs him and tells him to calm down. She assures him that unlike earlier she now doesn't care about killing him. She was filled up on his and Nasuna's situation and that's why wants to help him. With her decades of experience, she gives Ko some tips. And just like Sari's guidance, Ko goes to Nasuna's place and asks her on a date. However, she bluntly refuses. After slamming the door in his face, she resumes the game she was playing. Ko felt disrespected and asked if a video game is more important than his life. Nasuna replies, "Well, obviously." Ko furiously turns off the game and drags her away on the date. Luckily, Nasuna is a wholesome vampire, or else, Ko would have been cooked for pulling off the cable. As per the plan given by Sari, Ko first takes her to a romantic movie. Looking at Nasuna's face, you could probably guess how much she was enjoying it. After the movie ends, they go to a restaurant where they drink coffee. However, in the end, Ko returns home feeling pathetic over the lack of progress. While he is lying thinking about the next plan, Nasuna knocks the window. She apologizes that she should have at least pretended to enjoy the date. She grabs Ko and flies up into the sky to show him how a date should be. The next day, on his way to meet Nasuna, Ko has an unexpected encounter with his old friend, Mahiru. It's have been years since they had a proper talk. Ko, Akira, and Mahiru were great friends when they were little. But as they grew up, their classes got separated, they have to study more, and eventually, they stopped talking. Mahiru, being an extrovert, likes to party and spend time outside. But despite it, he apologizes as there were times they both noticed each other but didn't get a chance to talk. Ko also apologizes and expresses how much he loved reuniting with him. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Akira appears and tells them their conversation is making her feel very awkward. They share a moment, and Akira tells Mahiro about Ko fooling around with a girl. Mahiro finds it amusing. However, he receives a text from his home, and before leaving he tells them he would love to hang out like this again. After bidding Akira goodbye, Ko reunites with Nasuna. As they were walking, Sari spots Ko from afar and tries to hug him. But unexpectedly, she receives a kick from Nasuna. Sari explains that she is not here to fight and just wants to hang out. Nasuna finds it weird because it was Sari who said she was against vampires and humans being friends. With a sad tone, Sari tells Nasuna that she is right because she can never be friends with a human. After she leaves, Ko approaches her. He could see the sad look and asks if everything is okay. Sari takes Ko to a nearby karaoke. There she tells him that she is very popular among men, and recently one of them is stalking her like a freak. She doesn't want any trouble, but if things get out of control, she will kill the person. Just then, a guy named Akin stands in front of the room. He starts banging on the door trying to gain Sari's attention. Sari tells Ko that this was the man she was earlier talking about. She explains that just by saying hi to these people, they will go away. They only need attention and would do anything for it. However, the door was open and Akin comes inside. Sari had enough. She cannot let her privacy be breached anymore and tries to attack him. But before she could hurt him, Ko saves him and run away. But Sari soon catches up to them. Sari gave the last warning to Ko to don't come between her killing. But when Ko refuses to leave, she charges at him. Luckily, Nasuna comes in time and blocks her attack. She tells Sari that no way she is letting Ko hang out alone with a freak like her. Nasuna is curious and asks Sari why is she trying to kill a human when she has always turned them into vampires. With a curious tone, she asks if Akin is something special to her. Sari finally reveals her love for Akin. Not long before, she met him near a park, where he was in grief for breaking up with his girlfriend. At first, she had full intention of turning him into her offspring. However, as they continue to meet and talk, she realizes that he is not like the other humans she had turned. Gradually, she fell in love with him. However, she just couldn't dare to confess her love because for a vampire and a human to live together is forbidden. And she doesn't want him to turn into a vampire either because she would be taking away everything from him. So, she decides to stay away from him and left him without any proper explanation. However, for Akin it was a shock. He couldn't understand the reason why they part their ways and tried texting her and following her to get a proper answer. However, today she just couldn't hold on to it anymore and just wanted to end this for good. Sari gets emotional after telling this. Akin comes forward and tells Sari that every time he spent with her was filled with joy. And if the cost to feel this joy for life is him becoming a vampire, he would be glad to. He puts his hand forward and Sari turns him. With everyone being happy, they spend the night celebrating this occasion. The following day, Nasuna's business is in bad shape. Very few customers apply for her service, so to make up for it she sends Ko to find someone who looks tired. On his way, Ko spots a woman named Anko, who is alone and also looks tired. Ko approaches her. He tries his best to not look suspicious and asks if everything is alright. Anko stands up and asks if he is trying to hit on her. They go to a nearby restaurant, where Ko is in a panic and explains he had no intention of flirting with her. He explains that he was just looking for potential customers on her boss's requests. Anko, after knowing Ko's age, questions him, why someone like him who is under 18 years working after the legal working hours. Because as per the labor law, she can report Ko's boss. Ko is freaking out. But luckily Anko was just joking. She understands that if a young kid is working this late, he must have his reasons. Anko reveals that she is a private detective and usually deals in interpersonal cases like murder, affairs, and missing people. She asks Ko if he is usually awake during these hours. After knowing he is, Anko shows him a picture of a person who has gone missing. Ko panics as he realizes it's Akin. With a fearful tone, he refuses to know the person. However, Anko notices a sudden change in his expression and pulls him closer. She threatens him to tell her what he knows. But suddenly she backs off and apologizes for scaring him. Before leaving, she pays the bill and tells Ko to contact her in case he got any information. However, Anko is not planning to leave Ko anytime soon. She suspects Ko knows something and from now on follows him. A few days later, Ko meets up with Akira and Mahiro to spend some time together as earlier promised. They go inside the school and start busting all the myths regarding the urban legends surrounding the schools. Like, they stand in front of a mirror and call a certain name 3 times to see if someone will come. Or they go to their music room to see if the piano is playing on its own. But just like expected, all were just rumors. After they have busted all the myths, Mahiro asks if they know about a teacher who went missing from this school 10 years ago. Both Akira and Ko know about it. After all, it is still a hot topic that the students discuss. Mahiro got curious about the case and did some additional research. He found out that there is a rumor that the same teacher appears in his classroom at night waiting to devour students. Akira and Ko are not convinced and believe it is just a fake story like the urban legends. However, after a lot of persuasion from Mahiro, they decides to check the classroom. Upon opening the door, the rumored teacher is in the room. Everyone is freaking out and is scared to move even an inch. The teacher approaches them in anger because he was restraining his hunger for all these years. And today, when he could have been freed, they messed it up. On seeing a girl, he couldn't resist anymore, and with his insane speed grabs Akira. Mahiro tries to free her and tells Ko to help. However, Ko is in panic because he realizes the teacher is a vampire. He gets back to his senses and with all his strength he hits the teacher with a chair. As they were about to run, just then, Anko appears from the shadows. She offers her blood, and the teacher charges at her. However, after drinking it, he starts to vomit because it tastes awful. Anko had a case about the teacher and was researching him. She reveals that the teacher unknowingly fell in love with a vampire. And after he was turned, he couldn't bear to accept his reality. Since then, he hadn't drunk a single drop of blood, but today, on seeing humans, he couldn't resist his urges and attacked. Anko hands the teacher a silver ring, which surprisingly hurts him. As the sun comes up, the teacher turns into ashes. After it, Anko grabs Ko's collar and tells him that she followed him after their earlier encounter, and now she knows he is meeting up with a vampire and trying to become one of them. She warns him to stay away for his own good. Before leaving, Anko gives them her business card just in case they want to share anything. After bidding his friends goodbye, Ko goes to Nasuna's place and tells her everything. He fears that she might turn into a psycho vampire like the teacher. Nasuna assures him that she will not, because every day she is getting a tasty dose of blood. They go outside. During it, Nasuna asks Ko if he is going to quit becoming a vampire because of the detective. Ko assures her that he will not. However, upon seeing Anko was easily able to kill the vampire, he fears she will come after Nasuna and other vampires. Nasuna looks a bit worried to know humans have found a way of killing vampires. She has been living for decades, but still, she didn't come across someone with that ability. Despite it, she assures Ko that everything is going to be fine. Before leaving, she drinks Ko's blood and goes their separate ways. On his way, Mahiro approaches Ko. After talking with Anko, he tells Ko to not become a vampire. He doesn't want to see his friend turning into a monster like they saw earlier. Mahiro advises him to take his time and take the decision. The next day, before leaving to meet up with Nasuna, Ko is at home wondering whether he should quit or not. Nasuna comes inside the room. It's her first time inside a boy's room, and she is amused. Ko tells her about his interaction with Mahiro. Nasuna asks if he is trying to quit. Ko reveals that ever since meeting the detective and Mahiro, he has gotten confused. He wants to enjoy the freedom of night, however, he also fears what the detective might do to her and other vampires. After listening to this, Nasuna tells Ko that she lied to him. For decades she had been a vampire, but she has only felt lonely and nothing else. And whenever she hangs out with him, she only shows the good side. But in reality, if he turns into a vampire, he will only feel lonely. After telling this, Nasuna is about to leave. But before it, Ko tries to stop her. As he approaches, he stumbles, the chair hit the table, the remote falls, the light turns off, and after it, like any romantic movie, he conveniently falls over her. At first, it almost seems like Nasuna was going to kiss him, but she ends up drinking Ko's blood and leaves. The next day, Ko meets up with Anko. He asks how much she knows about him. Anko has researched and knows about when and where he meets Nasuna. She also knows that Ko is in a very tight spot. If he didn't become a vampire, he will be killed by them. And if he somehow turns into one, she will mercilessly kill him. With all this, she will let him make the decision. But she promises him that if he chose to stay human, she will protect him and in return kill all the vampires. Ko is terrified. He tells her that not all vampires are evil, and he is not going to side with her. With no other options, Anko takes out her phone and calls 911. She explains to the police about a student fooling around late at night. And she fears he might do something harmful to himself, so they need to come as fast as possible. Ko runs away. He is scared because if the police caught him, he will never be able to sneak out at night again. He arrives at a park and hides. There, Hatsuka suddenly appears. From there, they go to his home. Even though it may seem Hatsuka looks like a girl, in reality, Hatsuka is a boy. And just like many of you, it came as a shocking surprise to Ko as well. Hatsuka tells Ko about a fight happening between Nico and Nasuna. Because Nasuna tried convincing the vampires to not kill Ko even if he didn't become a vampire. Nico is very angry, as it is the opposite of their deal made earlier. Hatsuka proposes that if Ko wants, he can fall in love with him and easily become a vampire. Even though Ko knows he will not fall in love with a guy, but still out of curiosity asks how it's possible. Hatsuka explains that he can brainwash humans and make them think they have fallen in love with him. And just like them, he can do the same with Ko. Ko refuses as he is determined to fall in love with Nasuna. Before Ko leaves, Hatsuka reminds him to fall in love quickly or else he doesn't even know what Nico would do in anger. Ko agrees and goes to find Nasuna. On the other side, Nasuna fears that Ko might be angry after she lied to him that she knows how to have fun at night. Ko finally finds her. He tells how much he wants to fall for her, and how much he loves his time spent with her. Hearing all this, Nasuna just grabs and kisses him. And promises that from now on she is also going to make him fall for her. If you enjoyed the recap, please consider liking and subscribing this channel. Have a wonderful day ahead.